welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And this
I don't know
is
where Abby is.
Abby.
There she is.
I'm here. Oh, was there a delay?
It was just a little pause, which made me a little nervous.
No dead air. I'm Abby, the badass breastfeeder, and I am here. I promise. And today's episode is brought to you by Original Sprout. Their hair and body baby wash is made with gentle moisturizing ingredients. And today's episode is also brought to you by Imani and breastpumps.com, helping parents everywhere. They have recently released the Imani i1 dual breast pump. And we will hear more from our sponsors later, but you can head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com when you get a chance and check our sponsor page because our sponsors make this podcast possible, and see if you can give them any of your business. And while you're there, you can check out our merchandise page and check out all of our cool t-shirts, and not just t-shirts. We have baby stuff and drinkware and all this cool stuff with the podcast logo and some fun sayings on them. And while you're at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, scroll down, enter your email address, and we will send our episodes straight to your inbox every week. And now Dianne has our review of the week.
And it comes off of our iTunes. So thank you so much for putting it on iTunes for us. This podcast has been so helpful for me. I'm a first-time mom, and my husband and I don't have too many friends or family near us. This podcast has been such a support. It has given me such confidence in my mom instincts. My mental health and my little baby's health is much better for it. We talk a lot about how we have like this broken system where people just don't have the support anymore. So we are really happy that we've kind of filled that void for you. So thank you so much for putting that into iTunes for us and for letting us know, because, you know, sometimes we don't feel like we're doing anything. So I'm glad we've at least helped you with that and kind of made it a little bit easier. We are going to talk today about kits. And if you're like a regular listener, you'll know that a few weeks ago I did a review from somebody who like talked about one of the kits, mentioned one of them, and was like, "Hey, do you know anything about this?" And we said, "Okay, we've been talking about doing an episode on the kits. We should do it." So here it is, and I'm hostile about it. So you might definitely, if you don't like our ranting episodes, then maybe you need to turn it off. But we are definitely going to talk about like how much this plays into parenting fear. I mean, don't turn it off,
because we're going to provide you with insight into like what these products are doing and what these products are, and what are products that you do need, and what are some products that are maybe being advertised to target you in your most vulnerable state about your most vulnerable topics, and are just not necessary, and and they're profiting from that fear because the information that the product provides is not necessary.
It just makes me so angry. And the junk, like, all right, so let's get to it. First of all, this kind of like, I remember the first thing I ever heard about was those alcohol test strips. Like that was probably, I don't know if it was the first one. Yeah, they've been around for a while. That plays off the vulnerability of parents. Oh my gosh, you're going to have a drink. You need to have this test strip. You need to, like test to see if there's alcohol in your milk. Which is ridiculous. Like if you just have the support and education behind alcohol and breastfeeding, then you would know how much you do not need anything like that. But they make a lot of money off of those things. And they're at like, I remember somebody telling me, oh, they're right at the cash register. So it's kind of like an add-on gift. Like you can just grab it and throw it in if you're, buying a shower gift for somebody or whatever. It's like, you do not need alcohol test strips for your milk. But people might think that that's something that you do need, especially if it's like, maybe you're the first to have a baby in your friend group and you're having a baby shower and they're like, oh, we know, Janet's going to want to get back to her drinking life. So let's get her these test strips for when she's, nobody needs these.
Yeah.
Nobody
this plays off of the fact that we don't understand the science behind alcohol in breast milk, which we have an episode on that, which is my favorite episode and many people's favorite episode, because it talks about how unnecessary it is to go through all of this timing and this testing and this da-da-da. Like, it's just not necessary. There is just not enough alcohol going into your breast milk to be talking about this. But we don't understand this. We only know fear. And, you know, a lot of products within our capitalist world focus on fear. And a lot of our purchasing is fear driven. So we're I'm worried about the alcohol in my system, and I need to test so that if the test strip comes back positive, then I don't drink, or then I can't feed my baby. And then what are you supposed to do? And then you have to like give them, it's just not necessary. Feed your damn baby. And those test strips, I had those and I've used those. You can take one sip of alcohol, test your milk, and it'll come back positive.
I was going to say, I heard that they're not
unreliable. They're super unreliable. They're super sensitive. And you just, you can just like walk down the aisle at the grocery store and then you're going to be positive for alcohol in your system. Like, this is my whole thing about all of this is, so I have a lot of things about this because this is about capitalism, right? And so of course I have a million things to say about it, which I won't bore you to death today with all of the things that I have to say, but I will bore you with a few things I have to say. And I can't remember what I was going to say because I had like 10 thoughts. I had like 10 thoughts that came to my mind, and then there was none. No, so well, I'll just pick one, I guess, to say, and that is going to be that some people will say there's a saying in the kind of anti-capitalist world, there is no such thing as ethical consumption in capitalism. So people would say there's no way for you to be ethical here. Like, this is a corrupt system that creates, poverty and huge wealth disparities and all of this. And there's no way to be ethical within this system. I mean, I do agree with that on one hand. And on the other hand, here we are in this system. And we are all consumers. So you don't get to say, like, I don't agree with capitalism, so therefore I don't exist in it. It's not my system. No, it is the system, and we are all within this system. We're all operating in here. We all need to make money or we die. We all know this, right? You have to pay rent, you have to pay for food, you have to pay for all of these things. And if you don't, you just don't get those things. And so people could say that, there is no way to be ethical within this system. On the other hand, there are things that we do need. And, like I had Jack one time was like, why do we have to, or no, maybe it was Exley, why do we have to pay for food? And I was like, yeah. Why do we have to pay for food? Like, you need food or you die, right? But you need to pay for it. And that's capitalism right there. And I was just like, yeah, yeah, Exley. But so some things we do need, of course. And then there's things that we don't necessarily need and are fun to have. And then there are things that that kind of create a problem that wasn't there. And then invent the illness and sell the cure or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like these kits are in line with that.
Yeah.
That it's not a need. It's just playing off of your fear and your misinformation about this topic, about, whatever it is. And they're just selling, they're marketing the fear to you, and then they're selling you the cure. And that's not something that you need to spend money on. But we have people like, oh my God, I need these, I need this, I need that. But I don't have money for, a baby carrier, or a lactation consultant.
Yes.
I don't have money for that. Okay, but let's look at the things that we do need. Let's get the information. With alcohol test strips, those are not necessary. You do not need to be measuring the alcohol in your system. You don't need to.
Absolutely not. No, and they're playing off your vulnerability of, oh my gosh, I just had a drink. Is this okay? Am I going to hurt my baby? They're playing off the anxiety of new parents and making money off of it, which is a problem. Like that's not something that should be, but they can, right? Because you can market anything really and make money off of it. So it's kind of crazy. The kit that really started this whole conversation from that review that we got, that email, is about testing your milk to find out the nutrient content. And if your milk is up to par for your baby, right? They're testing specific nutrients to see if, your baby is getting what they need. Wouldn't this sound just amazing? If you're you're a breastfeeding mother, you are worried about what your baby's getting. You've got people around you saying, are you sure your baby's getting what they need? You don't need a very good diet. How do you know that and again, this comes back to education around how breastfeeding works and how breast milk is geared towards your baby. There's a lot of education behind this, and these kits are banking that you don't have it. That's what they're playing off of. You don't have the education behind it. You don't know, and we are going to play off your vulnerability and your fear. So I looked at the website for this, which I'm not even going to tell you what it is because I don't want anybody to go there. Not that you can't find it on your own, but the site itself, nobody that's involved with this is a lactation consultant. They have one person who is a certified lactation educator, who they say is a lactation consultant, but it says specifically says that she's not. But they're claiming, they're labeling her as that, but it says that she's a CLE, which is not the same as an IBCLC. So nobody there is a lactation consultant. So they do not have feedback from a lactation consultant saying, oh, this is what we want to test for the milk, blah, 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 blah. That is not based on lactation consultant information. And it's ridiculous. And they're expensive. They're hundreds of dollars.
Oh,
hundreds of dollars.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, my God.
So depending on what you want, if you want just the basic, it's like $100. If you want the kit that's going to really look at your milk very closely, it's like $400. So
Holy
it is ridiculous.
Shit.
Yeah. So they, and if you look for the information on this or put it into, if you put it into Google or whatever, all these blogs are coming up with this is the best thing ever. Oh my gosh. I wish I had this. I wish I had this when I was breastfeeding my baby. I would have absolutely wanted to know. No, you don't need to know because it's different all the time.
I was going to say, it's going to be different at different parts of the day. It's going to be different at different ages. It's going to be, This is the big thing this is my thing. Your body did not get it wrong. Your body did not accidentally mix this breast milk potion and put the wrong measurements in. That is insane.
So
we didn't put enough vitamin C or vitamin A or whatever, iron, fat in your breast milk. Oops.
Right.
We made a mistake. That's not a thing. That is not a thing. That happens.
So Good Morning America, I don't know if anybody watches that show. I used to watch it when my kids were younger and I was making their school lunches and stuff like that. And then I had to stop because it was everything was a crisis. And my kids were like, oh my God, are we coming to an end? And I was like, all right, I can't watch this anymore. But they actually did an interview with somebody about this a couple of years ago when the test kits first started coming out. And they said too, and maybe this has changed because like I said, it's a couple of years ago, there's no independent studies that verify the accuracy of these tests. And they interviewed a doctor, a pediatrician, who is the chief of digital innovation at Seattle Children's Hospital, and said that all breast milk is not created equal. Breast milk isn't the same on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. It's not the same in the morning or at night. It's not even the same at the beginning of a nursing session to the end. So the way that the samples are collected concerns me that it won't give a global picture of complete nutrition. I think we have to take a really careful look at what this puts out into the world and how this really affects moms who are just trying to do their best, supporting themselves and their babies.
Yeah.
And could not have said this better.
Wow.
But this is exactly, yes.
Who said that? Who is that?
It is Dr. Wendy Sue Swanson, pediatrician and chief of digital innovation at Seattle Children's Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Wendy.
Right. Loving Wendy right now.
Yeah.
Because that is exactly right. And I know, like, when we did this, when we talked about this a few weeks ago about how we were going to do this episode, I was like, I don't even know how they can claim that this is accurate because breast milk changes all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. So how can they say that this is what, like, I don't like, and this again comes back to the education, right? Like, comes back to knowing how breastfeeding works and how breast milk works to know that this stuff is crap. Like, that is really what it comes down to. You have to really know and have the education behind it and have the support around it. But when you have this, people saying to you, oh, I don't know if your milk is okay. It doesn't look like there's enough fat there. And you go, oh my gosh, they've got these test kits now. I'll just send my milk in.
Well, that's a good point about the fat, because fat is something you can see with your eyes. If you pump mere milk and you put it into the refrigerator, the fat will separate and come to the top. Mm-hmm. And some people have a huge ass thing of fat at the top. And then their friend will have a really thin thing of fat and go, oh my God, I don't have enough fat in my milk. Look at this. Oh my God, my baby's going to suffer. Except that your baby doesn't have the need for all of the fat, which is why it's not on there.
Or it wasn't at the time that you pumped it.
Right.
Right? Like, it's so crazy. The other thing that I was thinking too, I'll have to ask if I can use this picture. One of our listeners, she's also local to me and she listens, but she's also been a client of mine. And, so she sent me a picture recently of milk that she pumped like a couple of days before she had COVID and during COVID, and how completely different that milk looked. And maybe some people have seen those pictures, kind of like circulating around, but there's also those pictures with any like flu, cold, whatever. People are like, oh my God, look how different my milk looks. Like, that in and of itself, like, okay, what if I pumped this milk and I sent it in 2 days later, I found out I was COVID positive. That milk is going to be different than your everyday healthy milk. So how is that going to tell you anything? Like, but if you don't know that, and she even said, like, one of those bottles is from before I knew I was positive too, and it still was different because your body knew you were positive, but she didn't know.
Yeah.
So
your body knows things that you don't know.
So it just really, like, you cannot go by this at all. You cannot go by whatever you're paying money for them to tell you. Maybe they probably really think that they're doing something good, but it's not. It's damaging parents who are trying to just breastfeed their babies and feel like they're doing the right thing. And you get these results and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been like, what have I done to my baby all these months? Like,
and then what are you supposed to do?
Change your diet so that everything is wonderful now.
Oh my God, no.
That's the bottom line for it. We should probably take a break.
We need to take a break and we'll gather our thoughts.
I told you, this is why I was becoming so hostile.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy. We'll be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Imani and breastpumps.com. Helping parents everywhere with the right tools, Imani recently released the Imani i1 dual breast pump featuring the quietest motor on the market. Experience optimal pumping with hospital strength output, as well as a never-before-seen boost mode. Whether pumping from one breast or both, this smart system maintains a constant pumping pressure. Its two main cycles, massage and express, include multiple vacuums on each cycle. Portable, efficient, and hands-free. Find out why Imani USA products are trusted by over 46 million parents around the world throughout their breastfeeding journey. For more information, visit ImaniUSA.com. That's IMANIUSA.com and use code BADASS for 25% off of your order. or you can visit breastpumps.com/Imani and place an order using your insurance benefits. And today's episode is also brought to you by Original Sprout. Original Sprout carries safe, effective, and pediatrician-tested shampoos, conditioners, styling, and body care products produced and packaged in California, USA. Their hair and body baby wash is made with gentle moisturizing ingredients such as organic calendula and refreshing rosemary extract. Rosemary helps stimulate scalp circulation and calm cradle cap and eczema. This hair and body baby wash is ideal for babies, children, and adults alike. All of Original Sprouts products are paraben and phthalate-free, vegan, and cruelty-free. Their proprietary formulas contain nourishing extracts from fruits, vegetables, and flowers that the whole family can enjoy. They are not just for babies anymore. Check out their entire line at originalsprout.com and use code BADASS for 25% off of your purchase. And today's sponsors and the promo codes can be found in our show notes under this episode at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, or actually any thing you're using like iTunes. You can scroll down and it'll be in there too. Our show notes will also include further information about things that we talk about in this episode, and at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com. You will also find our breastfeeding resources, all of our other episodes, and information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the next one that I came across was a company that does two different kinds of tests. So you can two different ones, depending on what you want to learn at that point. One of them is a vitamin C test of your milk. The other one is a milk expiration test.
What?
Yes. So
what
these.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that those are just test strips. Whereas like the testing the nutrition, you have to like actually send a sample of milk in for them to test it. But the other things are like this, I believe, is a test strip. And I'm pulling it up right now. So it is really, really ridiculous. It's a milk strip.
OMG.
Right? Absolutely ridiculous. And you can test to find out if your milk is expired or if you have enough vitamin C in your milk.
I can't get over the expiration thing. I mean, the vitamin C thing too, but the expiration.
Right? Just smell it. Everybody knows, right? Like you can look anywhere online and get information on how to store your milk, right? It's everywhere. We'll tell you like, okay, your milk is good for this many days. You do not need a test strip to find out if your milk is okay to give. You just don't. You don't need it.
You don't need that any more than you need. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Let me see how much.
I should have found out about this before the podcast so I have more.
$40. $40 to find out for how many strips? 10. So,
well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Come on now.
This is just the only reason that this is another thing that I think about all of this. Just because you can doesn't mean that you need to. Like we discovered, oh wow, if you create this test strip, you can detect alcohol on it, or you can detect, vitamins or whatever. And we discovered that. And that's cool. I don't know who's sitting around trying to do that, but I'll tell you who's sitting around trying to do that. People who are trying to make money.
Mm-hmm. And
again, I understand we all need to make money. I get it. I do too. You hear ads in this podcast. We are all making money so that we can survive. But this kind of thing is ruining breastfeeding relationships, which we know are vital for, we know the risks of not breastfeeding. And just because you can doesn't mean that you should. Like, oh, we figured out how to, we figured out that you're able to do this. Let's sell it. No, that doesn't, just because you figured out how to do it doesn't mean that you should do it. We also figured out how to make nuclear weapons. We shouldn't do that. Like, don't do that. Stop.
So the next one will give you information on basically breastfeeding progress. So you will be able to see your milk supply progress in real time. I'm like reading this right off the website, which is ridiculous in and of itself. And again, education, we know that it changes all the time, right? So milk supply progress in real time might tell you what's happening that day, but it's not going to tell you what's happening like overall. First, objective biofeedback on your breastfeeding effectivity. See differences between breasts and balance your supply. So I guess this thing looks into your breast and tells you what's there. I don't know.
What the hell? What's an X-ray machine?
Early reassurance cues of effective breastfeeding. Early identification and management of a risk for infective breastfeeding and low milk supply. So this is going to tell you if your milk supply is low.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. Early indication for conditions that may lead to inflammation and a personalized guidance based on your milk and routine. So this is like an app and like a scan thing where you like drop milk into some little chamber and it gives you immediate feedback.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Stop the madness.
Yes. It's a sensing device for assessing your breastfeeding progress and help you to be proactive and achieve a good milk supply.
Oh my God. You don't need this, people.
No. Hundreds of dollars.
You do not need this. I feel
unbelievable.
I'm like anxious just thinking about that. Like that sounds like a lot to like set up and do and figure out. Can you imagine you have this new baby and then you're like, oh my God, I need this to try to figure out if I'm breastfeeding correctly. And then you have to try to figure out how to use this app. You have to try to figure out how to use this machine or whatever. Like, oh my God, that sounds so stressful.
And it really does
forget it.
And I mean, we tell people right now, like the apps that track like diapers and, how often you're feeding and stuff like that stuff can be really helpful in the early days where you're trying like you maybe not really remembering how many times your baby peed or whatever, or they're really helpful if you can share the information between like a caregiver. And if you're, like I know a lot of people who, like go back to work and they leave their baby with somebody and they can share the app with a caregiver. So the parent knows, okay, the baby had this many wet diapers during the day while I was gone. This many diapers were changed. The baby had this many ounces of milk. That can be helpful for those things. But I also hear a lot of people telling me like the app made me more anxious because I was constantly monitoring everything, all my feedings. And I can't imagine that this would be any better. Can you imagine like how obsessed you would get with testing your milk constantly to find out if it was okay that day?
Yeah, I would forget I had a baby because I would just be focusing on this.
I mean, it's just like, and the vitamin C and the expiration ones, there's only like, I don't know, 10 in the kit for like $40. People are probably buying like multiple ones of those because they're really like, okay, I need to know every day if my vitamin C is okay and my milk.
Right.
Like it is really easy to play off of the anxiety that new parents feel anyway, just coming home with a newborn. And these things they say, they come off telling you that they're helping you. It's ridiculous. Yeah. They're not helping you. It's causing more of a problem. And what if it's like, we don't know the accuracy of these tests. So then you feel like, okay, my milk isn't good enough for my baby, so I'm going to go to formula instead. That's not a better option. Even if they were right, it's always going to be better than formula because your body doesn't get it wrong. Like there's nothing wrong with your milk.
Exactly. Yeah.
The next
body,
one is an allergy test strip. So you have a fussy baby, you can do an allergy test strip with your milk and find out what your baby's allergic to.
Oh, no.
What? Yep.
Oh, no.
Yeah, playing off the whole cow's milk and dairy and soy and all of that stuff. So you'll know exactly what you need to take out of your diet, even though there are allergists that say that they can't test a baby that young.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But you can buy a test strip that'll do it.
I bet you're really accurate too.
Oh, yeah. And of course, we talked about the alcohol ones. And there is also mastitis test strips. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, am I getting mastitis? You can get a test strip for that. I mean, buying these test strips or these kits are way more than just getting a lactation consultant. Like,
seriously. Seriously.
Yeah.
All of this is so much more than getting a lactation consultant who's going to be able to help you with everything. First of all, your questions about this and the entire thing.
Right. I mean, this will really feed into a huge amount of anxiety for new parents.
Yeah. This is what we call, this is predatory marketing.
Yes.
This is aggressive, like, finding the fears, targeting a market here. What's the fear here? And, there's plenty of product. I mean, of course, we advertise products here all the time that I love, that I would buy myself, that I have bought myself, that I think are helpful or just fun or whatever. Because, of course, you're allowed to have fun as a consumer, too, if you're able financially to do that. But like, and we just we just lost a shit ton of money by doing this episode.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah.
Like,
which is fine with me because that's not why we do these episodes.
We've turned down these people before, and we would not ever advertise this stuff to you guys. I don't know. Maybe I can imagine like somebody who's just like, oh, I'm going to try those alcohol test strips so I can see how sensitive they are because it'll be fun and you have extra money, I guess, whatever. And see if Abby and Diane are right about how sensitive they are. I don't know, But like most people are not. I don't know where I was going with that. You don't need these. You do not need this. You do not need this.
Mm-mm. They really are playing off your vulnerability. And because the bottom line is like, oh, are you afraid your milk isn't up to par for your baby? Here, we've got this great way for you to know. And it empowers you. It empowers you to change how you're feeding your baby, and it will fix everything. It is so, like you said, so predatory. And maybe there's people who are listening who have tried it, who have used them, who really are grateful for it. But I feel overall that this, just like that doctor said, it's like you're putting something out there into the world that is playing off people's vulnerabilities and telling them that what they have isn't good enough. So here, let me tell you how to fix it. And it's just not, it's not accurate. Like they can't, if you look at how human milk works, you would understand like these cannot be accurate. Like it just can't be right. It is just unless there's something I'm missing here, but I mean, like I just don't.
There's not.
It is just crazy.
We know what this market does. I mean, we know this is not the only area where, predatory marketing happens. This marketing like this happens in all areas of the industry of, different industries and all across our lives. But we see it with formula too. I mean, I think formula is the big ones.
It's like the original predatory marketing.
Yeah, right. They created it. They started the trend of predatory marketing. Of just, and I saw somebody, I was checking out at Costco, and somebody had this like toddler formula.
Oh God.
Toddler formula for, so your baby gets, so your toddler gets the right, nutrients, and I don't know, the whole thing. And I'm just thinking, I mean, like baby formula, absolutely. We need to have that as an option. But like, you literally don't need toddler formula ever.
No, toddler formula is the biggest scam.
It is
literally the biggest scam.
You would never need that. Like, your toddler eats.
Right.
Maybe you have some like medically complex child that needs certain things. And of course, my God, work with your medical professionals to deal with that. But like your average toddler, there's absolutely no reason for that. And it's just going off of your fears and your insecurities, to make a profit. That's the end of the story.
Yeah.
And that's what we do here. We all have to make a profit, right? But, how are you going to make that profit? And these are always, I mean, the formula, of course, not some of these test strips are not, but these formula companies are multi-billion-dollar companies, that are just driving more profit, creating this, huge, more profit for the executives, because they don't have enough, I guess. And it just drives this, it creates this, these huge wealth disparities and whatever. I don't need to start lecturing about capitalism again.
It's just fascinating. Like when I was researching, I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is unbelievable how much stuff is really out there. And I know that like we've talked in the past about like lactation cookies, which people swear by, but like even they're saying those, I found a lot of, info on those, and it's like there is absolutely no research behind those. There's no evidence behind them working. There is no solid evidence behind the ingredients, because they're playing off of like, these are the ingredients in these cookies. This is, why they work. But it doesn't mean that they're going to work. Like, and people swear by them, which they say is probably a placebo effect then. It's probably placebo. Or there's something else that you put into play while you're eating these cookies that tell you, or that your body, reacted to. Like maybe you started, somebody gave you lactation cookies and you started feeding the baby on demand, or you started, power pumping or whatever. It really just, it's not the cookie. Like, and they said that those cookies, like if you buy them, whatever, by the package, first of all, they're very expensive. And second of all, they're very like high in sugar too. So it's like, they're not the healthiest things in the world either. But lactation cookies like and again, they're very expensive. So it's like, do they really need to be this expensive? Probably not. But they're playing off your vulnerability. It's like, there's no harm in them, like if you like them, fine.
That's the thing. But there's no harm in it. It's not going to, it's not going to, there's no harm. It's not like this, these test strips or whatever that are just like, going to create panic. Like, it's a cookie.
Right.
Like I would never knock a cookie. That would be just rude. It's like rude I would never be rude to a cookie.
Right. No.
Like, and it's fun, it can be fun to be like, oh, here's a lactation cookie. And like, sometimes they're, it's just fun to have it. That's a fine gift, like, here, make some cookies. And like, if you are up in the middle of the night, or you are just, whatever, you can make them, they're one-handed snacks. They're perfect in a pinch if you're just, having one of, you need to have, something to eat, obviously. So these things are like harmless.
Right.
But I mean,
but they don't replace,
but they're not going to, they're not going to have, this magical effect.
And I mean, and honestly, like if there's seriously a milk supply problem, we need to have it addressed. Is it the baby?
Well,
it might not be you.
Yeah.
Like it could be the baby. Like we need to know,
it's
right?
Not going
we can't just eat a cookie and that's it.
Right. Yeah. It's not going to, if you really are struggling, if you really do feel like your milk supply is not where it should be, then this isn't going to do anything for you.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's just, so there's a lot of stuff behind these kits. A lot of it does come back to them playing off your anxieties and your vulnerabilities about your baby. And I just think that's wrong. I really do. It's not offering support, and they kind of play off that they are, and it's not.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening because, we had a lot to say for this one. But
yeah, well, good. I hope it's insightful and that you can be a more informed consumer now.
Yes, absolutely. We'll see you next week. Bye.